Okay, guys, we are set. It's 8 o'clock, November 1st, All Saints Day. Hope everybody had a great Halloween. And of course, tonight, in fact, is this right now, the Cubbies are playing the Indians for the World Series. I've got that recorded. So as soon as we get done tonight, I'll be bringing up my recording so I can watch the Cubbies win Game 6 so we can go to Game 7 tomorrow. So if you're not a Cubby fan, you should be. Unless you, of course, you're from Cleveland. I'll give you a little background about what we've been working on here with iCB, some of the vision and the mission we've got set up, and hopefully you can catch what we're doing, and you can partner up with us. We're a little bit different than most companies because what started us off was a purpose to build something for the field in contrast to building. Cubbies got bases loaded. Hey, now that's awesome, but don't fill me in, Ronnie, because I want to make sure that I don't get any more that I need to know. My boys, I told my boys they can't watch it till I'm done, so they're coming over to my house. We're going to watch it when I'm done. So again, everybody just root for the Cubbies. But just to kind of give you a little background about iCB and how this all came about. My background, I was only in one network marketing company for 30 years. I was exposed to this industry back in 1977. 1 month after my wife and I got married, I came home from our honeymoon. We moved into a new house. My next door neighbor was a school teacher. I owned a retail store. I was 20 years old. In fact, as me even just take it one step back so you can maybe get a little understanding about me. I had a Fulbright scholarship to play football in college. When I got to college, and I realized I was good enough to get a scholarship, but not good enough to go any further. So while I was going to college, I made a decision that I just, had to do something with my life. My dad owned a couple grocery stores. He owned a farm. He owned a bowling alley. He owned a steakhouse. So I told my dad, I was in a marketing class one night, and the professor, he said, "Hey, listen, if you guys graduate in the top 10%, of your class, you'll probably make about $15,000 a year." Now, this is 1975, so just kind of I'm dating it a little bit here, so that this is not like yesterday, but still 15,000 a year. I could not believe that's what people made with jobs. The next day, morning, I got up, I called home. This is before calling cards, just so I had to go home, collect, and I talked to my dad. And I said, Dad, I said, did you realize if I graduate the top 10% of my class, I'm only going to make $15,000 a year? And he kind of chuckled. He goes, "Well, what were you thinking?" I said, "Well, I was thinking 15,000. I was thinking like 15,000 a month." And he said, "You don't make that kind of money with jobs." He said, "You got to understand fundamentally." He said, when you work for somebody, they pay you the least they got to pay you to keep you, because competition of that position determines what you pay people. So nobody really overpays. Now they might overpay a little bit to keep you, but not much more. And he said, if you want to make a lot of money, you're never going to make the kind of money you want to make working for somebody with a job. He said, you need to become self-employed. And so you got to realize at this point in time, I'm 19, okay, and I'm going to college. And I said, I want to get self-employed. And my dad said, well, great. What do you want to do? And I got to realize my dad owned a couple of grocery stores. He owned a bowling alley. He owned a farm. He owned real estate. And I said, well, I want to get business for myself, but I don't want to own any grocery stores. I don't want to own a bowling alley. I don't want to own a farm. I don't want to develop real estate. In other words, I didn't want to do anything he did. And then he told me, he said, there's a guy you need to talk to. And so he had me get on the phone. He had me talk with a guy who owns some Ben Franklin stores. Now, for those of you who are not in your late 50s, early 60s, you don't even know what those are. But Sam Walton, the guy that owns Walmart, he got his start. He owned 13 Ben Franklin stores. So back in 1975, when my dad said, there's a guy who owns about 5 or 6 Ben Franklin stores, you need to go talk to him. So again, I'm 19 years old. My dad gives me his number. I call him up. I meet with him. Make a long story short, I get excited. I get so excited because here this guy, he shared with me how much money he was making owning Ben Franklin stores. So at 19 years of age, I made a decision I was going to buy a store. Now, I had no experience. I had no money. I had nothing. But I just had a vision that I wanted to do something great with my life. After I got done talking with this gentleman, I called up my dad and I said, hey, Dad, I said, I've already talked to Minneapolis. I already talked to real estate development. I got a meeting with them at the restaurant, at this particular restaurant on this particular day. I'm going to buy a store. And I said, do you want to sit in? My dad said, well, I won't miss that for the world. And so my dad sat on the meeting. These two suits came down from Minneapolis. And of course, they thought my dad was the one that called him. My dad goes, no, he said, Jeff called him. I'm 19 years old. They sit down. They lay out the prospectus. They basically say, hey, listen, here's how much money you can make on one of these stores. You need $40,000 unencumbered cash. You need 2 years of experience in retail business. You can get a franchise. And when they left, my dad said, what do you think? So I said, we're going to buy one. He said, that's exciting. He said, there's only two things that you lack. And I go, what's that? He says, well, number one, you don't got no money. And number two, you don't have any experience. I said, well, Dad, that's where you come in. So again, you got to realize I'm 19 years of age, had a full ride scholarship to play football. I didn't want to get a job, so I decided I'm going to get business for myself. At 19 years of age, I called up some real estate guys because I met a guy one time, never really understood what those stores were, but I just realized how much money this guy was making. Decided I wanted to buy a store. Then my job became to convince my dad to back me. So here's what my dad said. My dad said, tell you what I'll do, Jeff, I'll back you, but you got to agree to work 2 years for nothing. So you got to get 2 years of experience. The only way you're going to get the experience is you're going to have to work, and I'm not going to pay you. So he said, I'll go ahead and front the money to buy a store, but you're not going to own the store. I'm going to own the store, and you're going to work for me for nothing. And after 2 years, then I'll back you to buy a store. Well, but guys, you got to realize, remember, in 1975, they said if I graduated the top 10% of my class when I was 22, I'd make $15,000 a year. By the time I was 22, I was making $75,000 a year. But I worked 2 years for nothing. And so when Lynn and I got home from our honeymoon, and then my next door neighbor comes over to me. In fact, he calls me up and he said, "Hey Jeff," he said, "Do you ever look at different business ideas?" I said, "Dude, yeah, I'm always looking. I'm always looking to make money." Because my goal was to have a bunch of stores, and he laid out this network marketing program for me. I got excited right away, man. I signed that first night. He showed it to me. He said, "Man, this is the best thing I've ever seen." Because you realize when you own a Ben Franklin store, you need $40,000 unencumbered cash, you need 2 years of experience to open a store, and then you had to go have a $150,000 note at the bank. It took you about 3 to 5 years to get enough equity so you can go get another store. And what they just shared with me in network marketing is the ability to open up stores with no unencumbered cash. All I had to do is basically teach people how to think like entrepreneurs. And when they laid this thing out, I'm thinking, man, I'm going to get rich overnight. It's like this is nuts. It's going to take 2 to 5 years to become a millionaire. I'm going to get it done in 2 to 5 weeks. And then all of a sudden reality hit me that most of the people that I went out and talked to, they were programmed to think like jobs. They were programmed to work for money. They want to work and get paid, So I'm thinking, I agreed to work for 2 years for nothing so I could get the foundation to buy a store. And we're going to share with you an opportunity that you can build a business that's going to make you many, many, many times what I could make in owning stores. And you guys, you're not making enough money quicker. So I struggled for about 10 years building that network marketing business, but I never quit. I just never, ever quit. Never made a dime. I mean, I would go to the meetings that they would have. I would meet the people, and they was nice people. I could never figure out how come I wasn't making any money. And after about 10 years, I finally figured out the reason I wasn't making any money was because I was trying to sell people on doing this. And I met a guy, and I read a book and listened to an audio tape on a guy named Don Phala. And he had the 10 napkin presentations. And I was actually up in Hudson, Wisconsin, working with an attorney up there that I personally sponsored. One of my best friends, I'm best man at his wedding. His dad's a chiropractor. I'm up there doing meetings, and all of a sudden, Ron, the DC, the doctor of chiropractic, he says, "Jeff, you ought to listen to this audio tape, and you ought to read this book." And so he gave it to me. So on my way home, 5 hours away, I'm listening to that audio. I listened to that sucker probably 5, 6, 7 times on the way home. I got fired up because he started teaching me some things I didn't know. I implemented those teachings that I learned from that audio tape and reading that book. And then in the next 90 days, it went from nothing to setting the foundation to make $1 million. And I was able to make 6 figures a year for over 10 years straight. And the business just literally exploded, and things were smoking, things were moving. And again, you got to realize I spent 10 years in the business, not making a dime. All of a sudden laid the foundation in a couple of years to set up a 6-figure income for 10 years. But then all of a sudden my business peaked. It started to dip, and I started figuring what's going on? What's wrong with this? And I uncovered and discovered some things that were wrong within the business model we were working. I tried to fix them. One of the things I tried to fix is what we're doing right now. The old model that I was at, every week we had an open meeting that people would go to hotels at. And Monday I would be, I would be in Iowa. Tuesday I'd be in Minneapolis, and Wednesday I'd be in Chicago or Green Bay, or Thursday I'd be in Kansas City, and Friday I'd be on a plane someplace. I was working all over the country, building organizations. Sure, I was making money, but nobody wanted to do what I was doing because nobody wanted to give up their life to make the money. And so I started realizing, I was making a lot of money. Nobody in our group was making money. So the challenge was that nobody wanted to give up their life to make the money. And the problem was nobody wanted to leave their house. So I said, if I can implement some technology. So I put together some video streaming stuff like this, rolled it out into my group in February. Actually, I rolled it out in November of 2006. And all of a sudden my group got excited. Said, man, this is cool. We don't have to go to stupid weekly hotel meetings. This is awesome. And we were selling people $8 and $10 CDs every week. I said, you don't need to buy those. I mean, obviously you need, if you want to get some audios and some videos, get them. You don't have to buy them every week because you can stream this stuff. So I started promoting that, and make a long story short, the corporation I was with, they served me with a cease and desist order in February 2007. And so couldn't do that no more. So you cannot promote people to do what you want them, what you're encouraging them to do for business development. And I couldn't figure out why they were against it. Then I realized that instead of ordering 1,000 CDs every week, our CD count went from 1,000 down to 100. Well, all of a sudden I realized the guy above me was making $6-7 on each one of those CDs. So his income got tagged. So he put the burn on the corporation, put the cease and desist on me. So here I am, February 23rd, 2007. I'm served the cease and desist order. I cannot keep doing what I'm doing. I had to go back to doing what I was doing, and my business had peaked and started dipping. And I made a decision in 2007. I wasn't going to let no tail wag the dog. And all my buddies thought I was nuts, but I terminated my position within that corporation, started my own company. In September 2007, we started up our own company. It was a simple business model, rolled it out. Now, I've got to realize, I knew how to build organization, knew how to build teams, didn't know much about the corporate structure. Now, I understood business. I owned 9 retail stores, did millions of dollars a year, owned a practice management company. I understood business, but I understand network marketing business, so I started listening to people that didn't have a clue. And it cost me hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to listen to people that didn't know what they was doing, but I never gave up. And it's crazy because I get these people that come in with me and they say, hey, Jeff, let me help you, how to, give me some ideas. And so I'd partner up with them. I put $150,000 of my money in, and it wouldn't work the way they were telling me it was going to work. And you know what? They would quit and go off to something else. Okay. But I was focused. I said, my goal is to help people build a business that they can build for their family. That's going to be self-generating for their family. I didn't want to build something so, I can go off and buy a professional basketball team. I didn't need to go off and buy a yacht company. Okay, I wanted to build something that I could set people up so their families would be taken care of for generations to come. So I'd never, ever, ever would quit. I had one guy, he was in the oil business, and, he made a lot of money. He said, yeah, so let me give you some ideas. And I said, I got smart. The first guy that came in with me, he didn't put any money in. I put all the money in, and it didn't work. I lost all the money. So this other guy comes up and he says, hey, Jeff, he said, I got some ideas. I said, tell you what we'll do, dude. And I'll believe it because you obviously, I've only spent time with one company, so you maybe know some things I do. I got no problem putting my money in, but you're going to have to put some money in too. So he put some money in, and he didn't get rich overnight. He quit, went off to something different. And so here's what I found out. Okay, broke people are broke because they think broke. And I started realizing, I'm not looking to have people tell me how to build something that they've never built. It seems like everybody who's in this industry, here's what they try to do. They try to milk as much money out of the market as they possibly can. And when they milk as much as they possibly can, they run off to something different. So I call them milkers and runners. They get in, they all want to, here's what all these guys want. They wanted fast start money. They wanted front side money that was going to pay people enough so they can make a full-time living. And then I go back and I remember what Don Fala taught me when I listened to that napkin presentation, when I read his book, is that network marketing is a method of making money that's completely different than what most people think. He said 100% of people who are not in network marketing don't have a clue what it is. He says 90 to 95% of people who are in network marketing don't have a clue. And here's why most people fail. They don't know that they don't know. See, most people treat network marketing like it's an affiliate program. They're trying to make a full-time living on the front side. Network marketing is designed so a whole lot of people are all buying a little bit of stuff, and you can make money on the backside. Then I read Emerson's Laws of Compensation, where he said every act has a reward. Everything you sow, you reap a harvest, but you only reap it one time. So therefore, if you sow it and you get paid when you sow it, there's nothing on the backside. So it's all of a sudden you got to start realizing if somebody wants you to come in and say, well, I need to make a full-time living right away. Here's what they need to do. They need to get a job. Okay, or they need to do an affiliate program. If they want to build a network marketing business to have backside money, they got to understand they don't know how to do this. Because if they knew how to do this, they would already have the fruits of their labor. And so all these guys were coming to me. I had one guy, he came to me, and again, the first partner come up, couple $100,000 I lost. A couple more guys come up. I had a guy come up. I wanted to get into travel. Lost $300,000 working with him. He was just basically a crook. Okay, but I learned a lot. Thank God, I lost $300,000 because now I know what I know. I'm a seller of travel. I'm a host agency. Been there since 2010. I had one guy. He come up to me and he says, "Hey Jeff," he says, the programming, I just can't make enough money fast enough. It seems like you're making money when people get in, and I need to make money when people get in. I said, dude, let me tell you something. It cost me $350,000 that I lost to know what I know. And so you're telling me that $25 you can't get rich? I said, I don't want you. You go get in with somebody else because you are poisoned. I'm looking for people who are trying to change their life. And you know what? If you want to change some things in your life, you need to change some things in your life. And what and again, I told the guy, I said, what probably got you broke is your thinking. And you're coming to me and you want me to change what I'm doing to meet what you think, and what you think has got you broke. And again, somebody said, gosh, Jeff, you're kind of tough and kind of hard. Well, the reason I'm tough and hard, I've done this for almost 40 years. Okay. Yeah, I've made millions of dollars. I own other companies. Yeah. And again, my wife goes, Jeff, how come you get so excited about network marketing? My practice management company would make me more than what most everybody who's ever been in network marketing makes. With my retail stores, we made a lot of money. We have other businesses. My wife goes, why are you so excited about network marketing? Because this is the only thing that the common person has that can help them become uncommon. You don't need to be a triple-E engineer. You don't need to have ungodly amounts of money backing you. If you got a passion in your heart and a willingness to learn, you can become whoever you need to become. You just got to have a passion in your heart. So as you start thinking about how this whole thing all got together, here I was going around the country speaking, making a lot of money. My business peaked, it dipped. And when it dipped, my goal was to fix the business. So I tried to fix it. I found out they didn't want me to fix it. Why didn't they want me to fix it? Because they weren't interested in fixing the business. They were interested in milking as much as they possibly could. I started my own company, and I started taking advice from people who don't have a clue. The only thing worse from someone who don't got a clue is someone who don't know that they don't know. And I didn't know that I didn't know. Cost me a couple $100,000. I learned. Then I wanted to come up, put together a product. I didn't know anything about the travel, so I thought something else about travel. Cost me another couple $300,000. Here's what's crazy. I don't quit. I always tell someone, you want to win, you hang with somebody who just never, ever, 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 ever quits. I got a couple buddies that I brought into me when we first launched Extreme Savings. They've been in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 10 different things. I'm still doing the same thing because I will not quit. I will hit it and hit it and hit it and hit it until the pathway is exposed. I'll either find a way to go underneath it, go around it, I'll turn that doggone mountain into a gold mine, and we'll all get rich. But you got to hang with somebody who knows how to win. Winners never quit. They will hit it and hit it and hit it. And you got to stop listening to broke people. Somebody comes, I got one person comes up and he says, Jeff, you need to add more money in the front side. You got to get more people making more money when they sign people up as customers. Well, that's okay if you want a stupid job. I don't want a job. I'm going to build something that I can build one time and have the money come in month after month after month. Yeah, and I got great products. We got great programs. One of the first things we put together is we put together a travel product. It's a separator product. And again, one of the things you're going to be hearing about in the next several weeks is our iWeb tool system. Okay, now you got to realize when I first brought the iWeb tool system into the market, I didn't know. All I know is I had some guys come up and say, we need some capture pages and landing pages. Didn't really get too much involved with it. Over the last 6 months, I have gotten involved. And let me tell you something, if you will listen to what we're about to share with you as we roll out the iWeb tool system, it can change your life. But it's designed to help you build network marketers, okay? Now, we got to realize in the marketplace, there's 3 different types of people. You've got buyers, and these are people who want to become a network marketer. They want to build a business, but they don't have the skill sets. There's something lacking in their life, so that they don't actually build, but they will buy. The second category, the second group of people you got are builders. These are the people who are motivated, they're fired up, they got the skill set, and they build. And then the third category are consumers. These are people who have no interest in network marketing, but they're more than happy to buy the products provided the product meets the consumer need. Okay? Now here's what happens with most people who get involved in network marketing. They don't understand that there's an 80-20 rule in business. Okay? And what the 80-20 rule tells you is that in any group of people, 80% of the volume comes from 20% of the group. Okay, in this case, the 80% of the volume is generated by the buyers and the builders. Okay, 20% of the volume is developed by the consumers. Okay, now the consumers represent 80% of the marketplace. So here's what happens with most people, because most of the people are consumers. They design all their marketing strategies and they design all their sales techniques to get consumers to buy products, which is not a problem. But all you're going to do is add volume. You're just going to go off and work and get paid, work and get paid. That's why all the people who don't understand network marketing want to treat it like an affiliate program, because they don't know how to build an organization. So they want to increase the commissions they can make off a customer, because that's all they can see they can do. See, they'll put on a lot of width. Okay, and I got one guy. Again, I probably spent $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 learning everything that he makes available to learn how to build an internet-based business. But affiliate programs, up systems, teaching you how to basically recruit people. But he's an affiliate guy. He doesn't build organization. He puts on width. He wants to maximize the amount of profit he can make on the front side. That's why they said once somebody gives you a predisposition that they're willing to purchase, you try to hose them for every daggone dime you can get out of them. Okay, and again, what happens is the only way those programs really work is that once you spend $5, you spend $25, you spend $100, you spend $200, you spend $2,000, you spend $4,000, you spend $10,000. They try to suck you dry because they know once you have a predisposition to spend money, they want to get it out of you. That's what affiliate marketers do. Network marketers don't do that. Network marketing is a system that works best with a lot of people all buying a little bit of stuff. So you're looking for the builders. The builders are the guys that build, and guys and girls that build organizations. You look for the builders. You sign up the buyers along the way. These are people who want to build organizations, but they lack certain skill sets, and you meet the consumers along the way. So the consumers are the byproduct of what you're looking for. It's not the primary target. So what happens is if 80% of the marketplace are consumers and you understand it's just a byproduct, you're looking for a couple people like me. You're looking for somebody who is skin dive for Roto-Rooter to make the money to get their dreams because they're motivated. They have a passion in their heart to get something they want that they can't get doing what they're doing, and they'll do whatever it takes to get their dreams as long as it's legal and moral. Okay, as long as it's within their value system, they will work. That's the ones you're looking for. That person will duplicate your business. That person will cause your business to explode. On the way to looking for those people, you'll find the people who say, I really want this to work. I want this to work. But you know what happens is they'll go off and they got about a 30-day window. Okay, the one you're looking for, it's got a 30-year window. Who ain't never ever quitting, who's going to win. Period. You can tie your wagon to me because I ain't stopping. That's the one you're looking for. The other people about 30-day windows, which means that they got to have some success within 30 days, or they quit and they go off to something else, which is most of my buddies. Okay. In fact, is I kind of go back and I look at when I first got started in the industry. Even though we made millions of dollars, by the time the fact is the first year I think we made 7 figures was 1993. None of the people in 1993 that I made the money with was involved with me in 1987. Okay, so all that business came from new. But here's what you look for. How would you like to sponsor 4 or 5 people who just don't quit, who can build $1 million organizations? You'll never find them unless you go looking for them. You'll never find people like me if you go look to sell customers' products. I get a kick out of. I got one guy. He says, Jeff, I like going off and get people hooked on the products, and after they get hooked on the products, then they'll go off and share the products to other people. Then they can go off and get some people hooked on the products, and they can share the products to other people. So that's a great strategy, and that does work, absolutely, but you'll never get me, okay? Because the last thing I want to do is go off and sell stupid products, okay? I don't mind selling products if that's what I have to do to get my dreams, but I got no intention. My motivation is not to go up and sell somebody a product. My motivation is to get a new house, to get a new car, to put, to set up a foundation that can help people. I got different dreams. My motivation is different. I'm willing to work. I'll work harder than you can think of, and you just tell me what I got to do to get my dreams, and I'll do it. But my motivation is not to sell products. So if you lead with products, you look for people who like to sell products, and that's not a problem. That's the majority of network marketers, which is fundamentally affiliate marketers. That's why they struggle. When you look at the iWebAtool system, you see what we put together, we're going to have a dozen different selected turnkey systems. In fact, is and again, I don't have time because I kind of rambled here a little bit, but when you get into your back office, the iWebAtool system, there's going to be a segment. I don't know if I got it up here now, if I can show it to you. I might have let it timed out, but there's going to be a segment within your iWebAtool system. It's going to be called Easy Capture Pages, and there are going to be a dozen different easy capture pages that's going to be set up for the non-IT person. So when they join iWebAtool, they don't need all they will need to do is they need to go in their member area, and they'll want to set up their name and their personal information. And when they set up their name and their personal information, like right what's here, their name, phone number, email, and their Skype address, if they got one, whatever that is, that's all they'll have to do. And there's 12 websites that's already set. So it's going to be part of the ADB, the Automated Downline Builder System. You don't need to do anything else. Now, if you got some IT skills and you want to do more stuff, yeah, absolutely. You can go in there. And in fact, I just talked with a guy tonight who's into what do you call it, cryptocurrency, and we actually built a prospecting system for him. Any company you got out there, because a lot of our capture pages are editable. So like, for example, you can take 06 and 07, you can take 15 and 14, both those are all editable. You can set up for whatever company you want if you got the skill set, but if you don't, the 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 10, 11, 12, those are all going to be preset, no IT skills whatsoever, simple turnkey capture page systems. You want to do the ADB, you pay $75 a month. We're going to send out 40 emails over 6 months. So every month we're going to load 200 new leads into your ADB. We're going to send out 40 emails over 6 months. Going to be directing them to all these different capture pages. You don't need to do anything. It's called an automated downline builder. And again, all we're going to do is we're going to send them out. The only thing we're going to recommend you do is log into your back office to see how many people clicked on the link to open up the capture page. And if you got somebody's got a high score, call them up. And when you call them up and say, hey, listen, Joe, this is Jeff. Just want to let you know I'm the guy. I've been sending you some emails. I'm a real person. I'm not just some computer deal. So if you ever have any questions, feel to give me a buzz. More than happy to help you. You don't try to sell them. Okay, you got to realize people will not want to get into a sales organization, but if you call them up and let them know you're real, if they got questions, feel free to call you. They feel pretty good. And next thing you know, they click on a few more. And I tell you what happens. There's nobody. And again, this is an IQ test, but when you go to 003 and you click on the capture page and landing page for 003, if they don't join, stay away from that person. I mean, this is literally a no-brainer. And again, one of the key things that I kind of look at too is that we got a lot of warm market people that don't want to contact people. That's why they stay away from network marketing. The biggest fear we have in network marketing is recruiting, because we don't want to be rejected by our friends and relatives. We don't want to put that relationship at risk, so we don't contact them. What's cool about the iWebAtool system with the ADB is that it's a turnkey prospecting system that will automatically build your downline. So now you can call up one of your buddies and say, dude, I ran across something. This is pretty cool. They actually got a system that builds your organization so you don't have to contact your warm market. Well, when you got a system that can build you an organization without contacting your warm market, you know what happens? It makes it easy to contact your warm market. Because now you just send them, they watch that little video and they go, man, that's pretty cool. You say, yeah, this just sends in 200 leads every month. They send out 40 different campaigns. And again, from network marketing, different from affiliate marketing, you only need 5 good ones. In fact, just 4, 2 good ones will set this thing smoking. 4 will really make it happen. 5 was just, get it going. If you want to set it on fire, get 6. Okay. I don't know anybody can work with more than 6 people. Okay, so what you want to do is you just want to stay focused on looking for, 6 good ones. And once you got 6 good ones, one guy said, what happens if you find another good one? You got 6 good ones. If I'm working with my 6 good ones and I haven't got each one of those organizations self-generating, and I get somebody else that joins me, I will go ahead and give them to one of my guys. Okay. Again, in your back office, we got a holding tank. So when they join, I talk with people right up front. When they get in, say, "Hey, dude, welcome on board. Glad to have you." And I just had a guy, Demetrius, just came on board. And I said, "Demetrius, let me ask you, you looking just to kind of hit this with a stick, or you want to roll your sleeves up and go full bore? You know, where you at? Just tell me." And he goes, "Yes, I'm pretty fired up." I said, "Are you sure? Because I only work with serious people. I'll help everybody, but I only lock arms with serious people." So, "Man, I'm willing to lock arms." Well, if I had my 6 guys, guess what? I give Demetrius to somebody else. And I'll call up, Jeremy and say, "Hey, Jeremy, I got another guy. He's ready to rock. He's ready to rock and roll. I'm going to go ahead and transfer the sponsorship to him, and I'm going to place him in your group." Okay. Why would I give him to Jeremy? Because Jeremy's already proven to me he don't quit. So once you understand how we package this whole iCB platform is to help the common person have an uncommon life, there's nothing that can stop you from achieving your dreams. Let me go ahead and stop the recording quick here, guys.